welcome to this very special roundtable on the front line of coronavirus, Israeli-European cooperation. We are delighted to host it. This event is arranged by the European Leadership Network, ELNET, the Forum of Strategic Dialogue, FSD, in partnership with the EU delegation to Israel, and delighted that Ambassador Geoffrey partnered with us.
It's an important topic, of course. The way we are communicating today is a reflection of the state of affairs across the world. And if there's lessons that we have learned from the pandemic that has been triggered by the virus, is that we need more cooperation than before. International cooperation and solidarity are key in order to be able to defeat the virus.
The focus that we had in the EU was a lot on multilateral and bilateral cooperation with international partners, because as we know, pandemic is a global challenge and only global answers will help us move forward. So the emphasis has been working with international organizations, international actors beyond public bodies, bilaterally with our associated partners, including Israel, and we're very happy that we have a very good channel and very good practical examples of how we move forward. Some of them have been already mentioned, including the signature of one of the projects today.
Israel and the EU have a very close relationship, and this has proved also true in these difficult times. Perhaps borders are closed, flights can no longer fly in Europe and between Europe and Israel, but it doesn't mean that we cannot speak and we cannot work together.
Let me start with a very simple comment that I would like to echo here, my dear colleague Emanuele Geoffrey. We're talking about the Europe-Israel cooperation, and we should start by understanding that Italy, both the member states and the European as a whole, and Israel have a very strategic and natural partnership in many, many areas. It's very easy to double check this. There are a lot of figures, trade figures and other cooperation figures that show how deep and interwoven are the relationship between European countries, Europe and Israel. Of course, there are many reasons behind that. One is the presence of a very large diaspora in many countries, which of course are natural bridges for cooperation. But if we look more in detail to this cooperation, we find that the relationship is particularly active and deep in the scientific and technological areas.
Today, I was together with Ambassador Leshno Yar, my colleague representing Israel in Brussels. We participated to an event with the European Investment Bank, the Israeli Innovation Authority, and the company, Israeli-European company called Pluristem, based in Haifa, to sign a number of agreements that will foresee a loan of 50 billion euros to this company in order to develop a specific clinical test for treatment for a number of medical conditions, including coronavirus.
So in terms of the civil society, the National Security Council has actually put out a call for proposals to the entire population, and we have been getting a lot of ideas from the public. We have consulted with many institutions around, universities and other institutions regarding their view on exit strategy, for example, and all these ideas have been integrated into the system of creating alternatives for policy that were presented to the government.
We've seen before such a global collaboration between governments, scientists. We share our information in the event like this, but we constantly share information with governments and with other scientists. So this virus will be defeated, but in the meantime, we have to save lives and to keep the economy living. And this is something that we cannot do at longer time. We have to start thinking and managing at a shorter time.
It seems to me that European countries have handled the crisis in a very disorganized way, in a very uncollaborative way, both on the medical side, because basically confinements have been announced separately by the different countries. The end of confinement is also planned with a certain lack of cooperation. And then even more importantly, on the economic side, there hasn't been much cooperation. We've seen the ECB and Mrs. Lagarde being very proactive. We haven't seen the second leg of any crisis resolution, which is fiscal policy and budget policy.
I think many things have happened in 5 weeks. The European Central Bank has reacted very powerfully, and we have seen a number of proposals on the economic side that would have been unthinkable a few months ago. The Growth and Stability Pact has been lifted. Member states can operate in the legal framework about spending. And we've seen a number of proposals that have been put on the table, including a short-term employment proposal by the Commission of 100 billion euros. And we know that the European Council has given mandate to the European Commission to come up with a recovery plan. So there is a recovery plan in the making. Obviously, we still don't know the exact cost of the crisis. Reuven Azar was saying the same things for Israel. The crisis is continuing. We don't know whether there will be a second wave. We don't know when the economy will be able to start. So it's a step by step. I think the thing we've seen at the European level are unprecedented, and there's been a strong reaction by member states. After the moment, a shaky start, you may say, a shaky start for the EU. But I think now we are much better placed, as my colleague was suggesting. And certainly in the area of technological research, innovation, we are taking up a leadership role, and we're very happy that Israel is one of our partners. We're making great progress in that direction.
Italy was one of the first in Europe or in the Western Hemisphere to be hit, and probably at the very beginning we were alone in fighting this fight. But I can tell you that I don't think that there was a lack of solidarity, not within the European countries, and not with Israel or other countries. Actually, Italy received the solidarity from many countries, from China to smaller countries in the Balkans, from other big countries in Europe. Several Italian patients were cured in Germany, and I know that there were patients that were moved from one country to the other in Europe. So I think that you see the glass half empty, and I see the glass half full. And in terms of cooperation with Israel, I can tell you that above the table and under the table, there were a lot of contacts and exchange of information about how we were actually implementing the lockdown measures. And other, exchange of information of questions that we actually had to confront at the very beginning. And also at the European level, I'm sorry that Professor Ricciardi has to leave, but there is a constant table that actually confronted the medical situation and the cooperation. And also we have emergency units at the European level that work towards the crisis. On the economic front, of course, it was a little bit more difficult. We know that Europe is a combination of several member states, and of course, everybody may have its own interests or a group of different interests. So it's always a compromise that you have to search, but we are used to do that. And I don't think that the result was poor. Actually, it was a very good result. But if we talk about the scientific cooperation, I think that the cooperation with Israel was an exemplar way. We are in touch with a group of countries led by Austria, that is more or less countries that are more or less in size and that have solutions like in Israel when it comes to the disease, and we are cooperating in that forum. The Prime Minister also did a VC with other leaders in Europe. We are probably going to join a conversation under the auspices of the EU and the G20 next week. And we are in constant contact with Corona teams all over the world, exchanging ideas about policies and supplying solutions for gaps that we have.
We have made two main activities. One is the mapping of all the COVID-19 companies that are tackling the new pandemic and the COVID situation. Also on the Finder, which is an open platform where you can go and browse for all the companies, we have added a hashtag. You can hashtag coronavirus or quarantine and find all the startups that are addressing solutions. As well, we have launched with the collaboration of Health IL and Wix, a very comprehensive website, and I invite you all to come to the Corona Tech website. It gives startup tips, also mapping the online events, but mostly also the grants and funding, international collaboration, and also the challenges. So you are invited to come and share the challenges, whether it's from your organization or at the country level.
Yeah, so thank you for the interesting discussion, and I think the discussion we can see that Germany and Israel should work closer together, especially by the startup scene, but also by the technology development. The Corona app is a very good example, and so I'm looking forward for a good cooperation in Europe, of course, but especially between Europe and Israel in technology questions.
Many researchers and many companies collaborate with many European countries, not just on a bilateral basis, but on a multilateral basis, brings excellence and many opportunities. The scope is so wide, so I think this is a strategic, of strategic importance to the site.